Adjustable travel too, right here, look at this. You can adjust it, like make it slacker. I would move back and forth.
No
Steep in,
way.
slacker. Oh yeah, dude. This was like from the 80s. But yeah, no suspension because it was unified, but we didn't know back then. Didn't have the race in me anymore, and I kind of got into free riding in the early 90s, living here on the shore. Digger and and the crew at the time were into like stunts.
I think the rear triangle was heat treated in my oven back home, and the front was heat treated over in this oven.
Here is kind of funny. This is my first place medal for the first Rampage, 2001. That's what I got, first place, Rebel Rampage. It's come a long way.
What's up guys, we are Hannah and Mo, and if you've been keeping up with the channel, you know we have been testing a bunch of bikes this summer and are currently in Whistler, BC. The other day we got to meet and ride with Wade Simmons, the godfather of freeride. In this video, he gives us a tour of Rocky Mountain Bicycles and we get to learn more about this BC bike company. This is Rocky Mountain Bicycles.
What's your name and what's your position here?
My name is Wade Simmons, and I kind of have a couple hats at Rocky. I'm a bit of a pro athlete still, riding bikes, representing Rocky kind of, in media and some videos, and then I'm a sales rep as well.
My name is Tom Ferentz. I'm the Director of Research and Special Projects at Rocky Mountain.
I'm Thomas, R&D Engineering.
Hi, my name is Ben, and I work in the R&D Design Department here at Rocky Mountain Bicycles.
My name is Maxim, and I'm an R&D engineer.
My name's Ken Paris, and I'm a product manager at Rocky Mountain Bicycles.
My name is Alex Cogger. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Rocky Mountain Bikes.
And what makes Rocky Mountain so special?
Me, I don't see it as being special. It's life for me. I've been a Rocky guy since the mid 80s, and I just love the brand. I love everything about it, how it's BC born.
It's a homegrown BC Canadian company, and we have an R&D center here in Vancouver. Got another team out in Quebec as well. And we got all our trails and proving and testing ground just up the street from here.
The culture around it, like those freeride guys.
I think one of the things is, being based on the North Shore, right at the base of some world-class trails, really helps us develop some sweet bikes.
I believe for me it's the creative environment that we have as an engineer.
I think there's a depth of history that evokes like a nice emotional reaction, I guess, from a lot of the mountain bike community.
I think that we like to sort of push into some new ground, new territory, and try out some different things. And sometimes you stub your toe, sometimes you come up with something incredible. So I think we're pretty good at trying stuff out like that.
Hey guys, Wade Simmons here. Welcome to Rocky Mountain. We're in North Vancouver, BC, Canada, and I'm happy to show you guys around. You want to come inside and look at some Rocky history and get into what makes us tick. Let's do it. So, Rocky Mountain is a mountain bike company that was born on the North Shore, 1981. So that puts us over 40 years, 43 years. I've been with Rocky, I guess, 93, 94. An old friend of mine, Mike Hunter, and I was the downhiller. He was a cross-country racer, and we toured the country doing the Canadian National Series. I was racing downhill, he was racing cross-country, and we had a van that was painted Rocky colors, yellow and red, and we drove across Canada racing mountain bikes. And that was my first start with Rocky. And now it's 2024, and I've been here all that time. So I started with downhill and mountain bike racing, and then I raced BMX as well. I kind of got tired of racing, the racing thing. I put a lot into racing. I didn't have the race in me anymore, and I kind of got into free riding in the early 90s, living here on the shore. Digger and and the crew at the time were into like stunts, log rides, building trails, and that's kind of the creation of the shore free riding. So we were riding stunts, hitting cliffs. Digger was filming it, with the videos on the VHS machines, and now, like 30 years later, here I am working at Rocky and still riding, loving it. So Mo, as you know, mountain biking has come a long way. Like the bikes that we have now, these highly developed machines, disc brakes, 12 gears, full suspension, it's come a long way. What we have here at Rocky are a couple examples of where it started. We had a unified rear end here, the old speed, the Rocky Mountain speed, and the excess speed, we called it, like bit of history, look at these shocks, I remember 3 inches of travel, grip shift, rudimentary. We got a classic bike here. Rocky, we got deep roots in free riding, And Jeff Gulovich, one of a freeride star, he was a Rocky Mountain athlete for many years. And we're lucky enough to have one of his old bikes here. This is a flatline. So this is a single pivot, DH kind of freeride bike. I kind of like this bike actually, ETSX. I rode a bunch of these. This bike feels awesome. Look at this, original high pivot. You know, so you got like a clevis, like a A-frame on an F1 car and stuff like that. Adjustable travel too, right here, look at this. You can adjust it, like make it slacker. I would move back and forth. Steep in, slacker. Oh yeah, dude. This was like from the 80s. Back before full suspension, we had hardtails, and Rocky made awesome hardtails. Slack. So this old Altitude right here is probably an 85, 86 model. And it's funny how, like, you know, thin tubes compared to today, aluminum and stuff like that, but look how rad that thing is. We had a couple of cool downhill bikes here. This is the RM9, 9 inches of travel in the rear end. You know, just looking at this frame, you can see Rocky liked to stand out, you know, like one single rear end there. You know, I mean, we don't see a lot of that these days, but this linkage driven shock, you know, some companies have definitely kind of used that in their designs. You still see this right now, you know, and this is, this bike is like a mid 2000s. I did a lot of filming on this bike. This is called a Pipeline. It's a unified rear end, one of the first full suspension bikes. Again, Mo, adjustable travel here. You know, up and down. Let's loosen this right here. So steeper, obviously. And you can go down, slacker. Oh, I gotta loosen that off. There we go. Slack. It drops the bottom bracket height. Steep. Slack is the head tube. But yeah, no suspension because it was unified. But we didn't know back then. It's actually cool. So this bike right here, the Slayer team, we have the new Altitude is a new design. And we call it the LC2R. It's lower counter-rotating pivots. And we use the same one, LC2R. And this bike, again, is like kind of 2010 maybe. I don't know exactly the time. But you know, it's kind of cool to kind of like revisit some linkage that we had. And we just happen to have a bike over here, a new Altitude. And that's kind of like, that pivot in there is kind of an evolution of what we had there, like 15 years in the making, coming back. Like here, you know, back in the day, they were experimenting with carbon on seat stays and chain stays. So yeah, this is a bonded, aluminum bonded carbon fiber seat stay. Pipeline, vintage, and then as a bit of a joke, we kind of had a Slayer prototype. The Slayer was due for a change, and we made this. We call this a Pipeline, but it really was a Slayer prototype on a redesign. So this was kind of the mule, the riding prototype for the latest Slayer. And funny, I did a video of this bike. If you search on Instagram or Rocky's YouTube, you'll see Wade Simmons and the Pipe Dream. Some more cool stuff over here. Thomas Vanderham, as you know, he's a free rider, kind of a generation below me. He works here at Rocky. And he has a cool old frame here that's on a cover of a magazine. So this is a Decline magazine, if you remember. He's doing a sick flat table, and this is the frame that he's doing that table on. So a little bit of history here at Rocky, pretty cool. Rocky, as a company, we have two offices. We have one in Quebec, which is our administration, our headquarters, and here in North Van is the Research and Development Center. So the people you see working behind me here, the engineers, product designers, and we have marketing too. So all Rocky's marketing and product is kind of headquartered here, which is awesome. So yeah, let's take you guys in the back here and show you where all the prototypes and machining and stuff is done, right in here.
This is our workshop in our Vancouver R&D test center. So what we do over here in the company is we first look at what platform we're going to work on, and we start off with the performance curves. So performance curves like the rate curves and anti-squat and other items that we look at, we basically draw that out, and from that point we make what we call a wire skeleton. This was a frame that was welded in-house over here, so we machined some of the parts. We used tubes from some random frames that we have, so like an Element and Element top tube and a Altitude previous generation down tube and a seat tube that we had in stock. And just to show you what we have here, here's a bunch of frames that we've made in the past, some mules. There's a maiden mule right there, that blue one that you can see. That's a older frame. This over here is the altitude mule, and if you take a look, when we place it over top, 1-to-1, everything pretty much matches over here. And then this was tack welded and then fully welded here. I think the rear triangle was heat treated in my oven back home, and the front was heat treated over in this oven behind you. A jig table for a front triangle. So you can have the main pivot and bottom bracket down here, head tube clamps in there, and then we have the C-tube clamping in here. So then what we were doing is mitering these pieces. So it's like making your own 3D puzzle, but you make it custom. So we have all these machines to cut these tubes. We have vertical milling machines here, one that can actually twist at an angle over on this side. And then behind me, we have a CNC machine. We have a lathe. We have that big green Doctor Who looking robot that just reams the C-tube itself. And over here, we have this little torture chamber. So basically when the frames are not aligned, we can put them in there and realign them. Torture the frame into the correct tolerance. In the workshop here, we have some fatigue testing machines. So this machine basically tests the frame in a horizontal position and vertical. We don't have anything running at the moment to show you, but this is like a dummy fork and it just goes in and out. So this sort of represents you running into a tree or also landing and splaying the frame sort of back and forth. And then on the back side over there, that's a vertical testing sort of setup where it's almost like slamming down on your seat 50 to 60,000 times. Then we have a ultimate tensile testing machine over here where we rip apart our frames. So we check to see what the failure points are, specifically the front triangle and rear triangle. We also use it to recreate some failures that we may or may not see in the field. And then we have a pedal testing machine right next to it, which basically puts a bunch of cycles in as if you're putting a pedaling load into the frame assembly.
We call this the fishbowl room, the meeting room. This is where all the heavy thinking goes down. Here, it's kind of funny. This is my first place medal for the first Rampage, 2001. That's what I got, first place, Rebel Rampage. It's come a long way. And then the same year, I got 2002 in Jindabyne in Australia. There was a Red Bull contest called the Red Bull Ride, and I got second place, and that's a pretty awesome trophy, actually. Little ladder bridge off, you know. But it's just funny how, free ride was just taken off. Red Bull Rampage, first place. Next year, Red Bull Ride in Australia, nice trophy. And now they win lots of money. I think I won like 5,000 US back then. It was like nothing. But I mean, a lot of money for, 2001.
What do you want people to know about Rocky Mountain bicycles? What do you feel like something that they just don't know?
We are a dedicated Canadian mountain bike brand with roots on the North Shore. So, when I tell people now about Rocky, like why Rocky, it's because we are the mountain bike brand from Canada, and we have the best story in mountain biking. Born on the shore, 81, still giving her.